Welcome to the Accidental Business Owner podcast, the show that lifts the lid on what it really takes to grow, scale and successfully exit your business without losing your sanity, soul or savings. Real stories, raw lessons, proven strategies. Let's dive into this week's episode. Hi, Jay Allen from TrueNORTH and host of the Accidental Business Owner podcast. Delighted to have you with us today as I talk about how to stop being the world's problem solver and trying to fix everything for everyone. I don't know if, like me, that you get a particular kick or some form of enjoyment out of helping other people. Interestingly, of all of the other networks that I go to, of all of the business owners I've met, not just here in the UK, but having spoken in 34 different countries at business expos and conferences to well over 400,000 other business owners. If there's one thing that seems to be more current than any other, it's when you ask somebody, why do you do what you do? The frequency that people tell me, well, I like helping other people. We are natural born helpers, or at least the mass majority of people are, unless you're an absolute sociopath. My point is that we enjoy helping. Certainly, I've done my Jungian archetypes to learn all about the types of character that I am and my strengths and weaknesses as such. And one of my most prominent and predominant character archetypes is that of the nurturer. I particularly get enjoyment out of being able to help other people. It's part of my nature. It's part of who I am and what I do. Perhaps it's why I choose to do the podcast, in order to be able to share thoughts and ideas and suggestions, as well as challenges, and to be able to challenge your thinking and your doing. But the whole aspect of sitting in a room and talking to a camera is sufficient to be able to know that the person on the other side of the lens is getting something from what it is that I have to share. So this ongoing desire, this ongoing need to be of service to other people. And for the clients that we work with, they see that in an abundance. Certainly for those of you who have tuned in for a while and know my background, know that I started off as a qualified social worker, or I qualified first to be a social worker and help people, particularly help the young adults and children who've gone through quite a challenging start in life, and my desire and aspiration was to be able to help them overcome some of the psychological and mental challenges that they faced as a result of that, and then help them to understand that isn't shaping who they are and what they do. And then I subsequently went on not only to join the army, but to qualify as an advanced combat trauma medic in order to be able to help people in a different set of circumstances that have either been physically or sometimes mentally injured or traumatized by war or injury. And that sometimes meant treating the enemy. It sometimes meant that if you find injured combatants, regardless of uniform or cap badge, that your job was to be able to help and provide support and save life. And then even my time in corporate, I spent a little bit of time in change management working for the ambulance service, and to make it a lot more efficient, or at least the regional ambulance service, to be able to help with some efficiencies in a service that was responsible for providing help and support and medical aid to other people across the northeast of England. And then in this business as TrueNORTH, a scale and exit mentor supporting the accidental business owner to be able to change their thinking, to change their doing, to be able to apply the proven and accredited ADDAZERO methodologies to be able to significantly scale up and then prepare for sale or exit from their business. There's a whole lifetime's worth of work in a variety of different circumstances of helping others, of being of service. Yes, I'm in the service industry, but there's a significant difference between selling a service and being of service. And I'd like to think that I'm certainly the latter as opposed to the former when it comes to giving to others. So there's this desire within all of us, or at least the majority of us, to want to help. So why on earth would I say that you've got to stop helping the world in order to be able to build and grow a business? And the simple fact is that it comes down to that age-old perception of the money is in the niche. And we have to be willing to be able to help ourselves in order to be able to subsequently help other people. And if you're constantly out there and helping others, it's usually at the cost of being able to help yourself. And therefore, if you've seen one of the episodes, the end of season 1, or at the very beginning of season 2, when I started talking about the importance of being selfish, of learning to be able to put yourself first as opposed to last on the list. And today is about being able to maximise and look at that from a different perspective and say, the more that you spend time saying, I can help anyone who, then no one comes to mind. Like I mentioned earlier in the episode, I've had the privilege to be able to travel to 34 countries so far and be able to present my scale-up methodology, my thinking around growth and scale and the ADDAZERO methodology to over 400,000 business owners across the globe, from Iran and Qatar and America and across the European states, all the way through to many different events here in the UK. But to be able to share in a global audience of SME business owners some ADDAZERO methodology, I've been very keen to be able to support many different people. And yet they've all had a thing in common, a common theme that runs throughout all of the people that we've spoken to, is they're all business owners, they're all conscious business owners or conscientious. They've all got a soul, they've all got some values that not just stuff me pockets with cash or whatever. They've given some considerations to being able to the community that they serve, looking after their staff, how we show up in the world. I like to say that business for good is good for business. And we tend to attract business owners that understand that the more that we do for others, the more that they will do for us in return, either directly or through recommendations and referrals and 5-star reviews and testimonials and introductions. That the world of helping is reciprocal as long as we are both willing to give and ready to receive. So what do I mean about not helping the world and still winning business? And the simple fact is that the more times that you're out there and somebody says, well, who do you work with? And you say, anyone who, no one springs to mind. Of 400,000 plus different business owners that I've ever met or spoken to, I've met a guy called Ping. I've met somebody called Goliath. I've met more than one person called Spiros. I've met somebody in Egypt called Jesus. And yet I've never met anybody called anybody. So the moment that you say anyone who, no one comes to mind. If you try and sell to the masses, you really, really struggle to be able to attract anyone specific. And therefore, the more specific we are around who we support, the more easier it is for people to say, people like me, or John or Paul or Sue or Susan or Rachel, or I can start to envisage who it is that you're trying to work with. Let me give you a quick example. So at my TrueNORTH, we work, not exclusively, but we work best with the accidental business owner, the person that never intended or never expected to subsequently go on and grow the business that they've now owned and manage. An owner-managed business that sat out in business to be able to set up and earn a living for themselves, are good at what they do and therefore became busy and hired some staff and before you know it woke up a few years later and said, wow, where did all this come from? All of a sudden I've got 5, 10, 25 mortgages to give considerations to and 60 or 70,000 pound a month's worth of salaries to pay out. And all of a sudden I've got this big business. I was never envisaged. I never cut out to be the managing director, the finance director, the head of sales, the HR manager. I never envisaged having to wear all of these hats. I was just good at what I did. But as a direct result of that, I've ended up attracting and bringing on board all of these different aspects that help the business to grow so we can help and support more people. And as a result of that, I've now ended up with this mighty beast that I'm perhaps struggling to manage or understand the different aspects of, or haven't got that much proficiency or experience or qualification in order to be able to wear all of those hats. That's the type of business owner who we work well with in order to be able to support them in understanding what those hats are and have the systems and processes through the ADDAZERO methodology to enable them to recruit and retain and reward the right people in the business, that more is taken off their plate and given back into a business that is streamlined and systemised, enabling people to do what's necessary to grow to the next level, be that multi-6 or multi-7 or possibly even multi-8 figure revenues. But we are really, really specific. We know exactly who those people are. We know that they've got a conscience. We know that they are charitable. We know that they like to be able to look after their staff. They are considerate of the local community in which they serve. They are perhaps industry leaders or changing the way that business is done for the better, not just for themselves, but for their customers, their clients, the community, the profession in which they work. We know that they've got some considerations to the environment. And I'm not saying that you've got to have a zero carbon footprint, but I'm saying that we are considerate employees. We understand the concept of a business for good is good for business. And by doing so, we attract other people that are more conscious of those things also. Certainly, when we tell people that a contribution is made for every single product or service that we sell, a percentage of that is donated to our designated charity. And every year we announce at the end of the year is gratitude for the clients that we've served, and in doing so, how much we've been able to support the charity that year by them choosing us as opposed to somebody else. Other people benefit as a direct result of the clients that we serve, and they benefit, and we benefit too by being their trusted support and their mentorship. So it's about understanding that the more that you try and help everyone, the more difficult it becomes for anyone to understand as to the relevance of you to them. And yet the more specific we become, the easier it becomes for prospects to say, and is that me? Or would you work with somebody like me? So my question for you today is, who are you not serving? Who are you not the best in the world at being the service or the provider to? What problems do you not fix? And who could you recommend or associate with or affiliate link to or partner with in order to be able to push business elsewhere if you're not the right solution? Because ironically, the more defined you are of who you are here to serve, the easier it is for you to find them and them to find you. If you want to learn more about that, then we've got our business scale up assessment, a free tool that you can use in 5 or 6 minutes to be able to establish the scalability of your business right now across 5 different elements: the marketing, the sales, the operations, the finance, the team. It's a free audit, it takes 5 or 6 minutes, and it enables you to get your scale up score and gives you some tips and tricks on whether you've got what it takes to be able to move to the next level, where you're already thinking about defining who you are, what you do, and how you do it. If you haven't done so already, www.mytruenorth.club/BSU, and the QR code is on the screen and the link is in the show notes. I look forward to being able to be of service to you. In the meantime, God bless, take care, and I'll see you again next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Accidental Business Owner podcast with me, Jay Allen. If today's episode sparked a thought, challenged your thinking, or gave you a new tool to grow smarter, share it, rate it, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a moment of transformation. God bless, take care, and I'll see you again next week.